Ladies and gentlemen, today is March 11th, 2014, and this is the KNKL Show, episode 174. I'm your host, Keenan Lafferty, and today is Tutorial Tuesday, but we're just going to be continuing with our From Beginning to End series featuring the monks from Diablo 3 and this piece of marketing art that I am creating for Blizzard for the upcoming release of Reaper of Souls. And we're going to be jumping right back into our good old-fashioned time lapse. So let's go ahead and get started with that. And today we actually have a long one. We have a very, very long time lapse. 9 minutes long. So I'm hoping that today I'll be able to give you a little bit more of a play-by-play of what I'm doing, some of the thought process that is going into this, as we clean up the lines and we get ready to add our color. Yes, I know you have been waiting for many, many, many episodes for me to go into color, but the truth of the matter is that my new technique, my new style, whatever you want to call it, the color literally comes in, it's like 90% of doing this stuff, and then the last 10% is just all the color, and it goes on there. And I really like it that way because it's so much more simple, and it allows me to focus really where I think my strength is, and that is like creating like powerful line art, I guess. Like sculpting line art, adding a little bit of shadows and values in there, just where I think it's really important to be. And then it comes in really handy because what I end up doing is I color the lines. And if you guys want to know a little bit more of this technique that I'm using in depth, please search adding color to a grayscale portrait on my channel. And I'll show you exactly the technique we're going to be using in the next episode, probably tomorrow. But many of you are probably wondering why there was no show yesterday, if you didn't tune in last Wednesday. I made my way down to WizardCon Sacramento, and it was freaking awesome. And I wanted to say thank you to everyone who came out and said hi to me that is a viewer of the show and a fan of the comic. It went absolutely amazingly, and I can't wait to go to WonderCon next month in Anaheim at the Anaheim Convention Center, the same place as BlizzCon. Can you believe it? I am going to be an exhibitor, same place as BlizzCon. I can't believe it. Maybe I'll see Day 9 there. Maybe. One can hope. I actually met a guy at the WizardCon that said, I think he was part of like a Shoutcasters group or something like that, but he said he worked with Day 9, so I was like, I was super jealous of him. But anyway, I got up to take a break for a second and I left the camera rolling, so we're just going to skip ahead a little bit. I actually think I took a nap. Because sometimes when I'm working, I don't know what it is, but like this used to happen at Riot all the time. Like I feel like I just put so much of my mental energy into creating art that it literally exhausts me. Even though I'm doing nothing physical except just sitting in a chair and like moving my hand with the stylus on the tablet, it literally just makes me feel so tired and like fatigued. Even though I got, a good decent amount of sleep and, my diet was pretty good. I actually didn't eat a lot today. I didn't eat a good breakfast. So I just didn't eat any breakfast because I didn't want to have a bunch of groceries that went to waste while I was in Sacramento, the beautiful Sacramento. And so I came back and I didn't have anything to eat aside from some crackers and stuff, maybe a banana. So anyway, that is another story for another time. Let's get back into what we are doing here. So a technique that I've shown you guys before, and basically what I'm doing here is you'll see I'm going through and I'm actually cleaning up the edges, just the edges of the characters and of the line art. And the reason why I'm doing this is because very soon I'm going to begin using the magical fairy wand and dabbing it around the character and then imploding it to create our character mask. And that is something that I like to do nowadays. So that way we can avoid the terrible travesty of manual masking, which is a terrible thing to do. I never recommend to anybody do manual masking unless you have line art that simply requires it, or, like if it's just kind of messy back here. But in general, cleaning up just the edges, you can see here. See how everything is still pretty kind of sketchy within the silhouette of the monk girl, but just the edges I've cleaned up. Super, super crisp. And this is a little bit of a trick, or a little bit of a, I don't know, just like something that I noticed while I was working in the industry, is that people want super, super clean work. So it looks professional. But I asked myself, what exactly creates that professional look? What creates that clean look? Is it everything that is it just the way that I paint everything within the character? Or is it just like the edges of the character, right? And that was a recurring thing that I noticed, is that and a lot of professional work, or the stuff that Riot liked to put out, was it just on the edges of all of the materials and the character silhouettes, they just had to be clean. And then literally everything within it, it could be as painterly as you wanted it to, and it still looked really awesome. It's hard to explain, but I'm hoping that as we go in and finish this, I will be able to demonstrate that. And also, the other awesome thing about cleaning up the edges is it makes it, as I've said before, a prime candidate for the magical wand invert selection fill technique, just creating the character mask. That way we don't have to go through and manual mask, and I'll demonstrate that once more. After the time lapse, we still have 5.5 minutes to go. So let's continue. But I was super happy with this. I'm really liking the way that all of the line art's coming out. I like the way that our characters are looking. Really digging this goat man, and this guy over here. He's now reacting properly to, the blinding light of the monk girl, instead of just sitting there doing some generic dumb pose. And this guy is properly scared that his buddy's getting kicked over his head. And yeah, we're having lots of fun. I was actually thinking about hiding something back here. Like, I was like, maybe I should hide like a giraffe in the background somewhere. I still might do it. Somewhere. But I won't show it. I won't show it on the time lapse because I want you guys to find it. And it will be a secret if I end up doing it. And also, I was thinking about, what should I name this thing? What's the title that I should make? Because the last thing I want to name it is like Monks from Diablo 3 or something really kind of boring and, I don't know, just like predictable. Nothing predictable. Something kind of funny I think would be cool. Like, I've always wanted to kick a goat man in the stomach or something like that. And now we are moving into Malthael. In fact, I want to rewind just a little bit because this is once more I'm going to demonstrate to you guys line sculpting, and what exactly that is. And I want you to pay close attention to what Malthael looks like right here and what I'm going to do with his lines, basically how I'm going to sculpt out and create the values, create Malthael basically by moving around shapes and working with values only, not drawing lines, So watch closely as we move into this now. So I start right here, right? Kind of like cleaning up these little edges and these lines. Really just, yeah, I'm just refining edges. I really feel like that's what I'm doing. Refining edges, kind of pulling out shapes. I'm like, maybe that would be cool if there's like a couple little small details right there on the edge of his collar. And it works. It works. It's not the exact same design that Malthael is in the game, but I like to kind of take what's there and kind of turn it into my own style. Basically, the same silhouette, same reads, so you can tell that it's him, but I just do it kind of in my own style. So, yes. Speaking of that, I decided to make his scythes really, really big because I just thought that those were the coolest weapons I've ever seen, and I just wanted to make them bigger. So, we did that. And he's got like some sort of like fire. It looks kind of like a fire motif going on with his pauldrons. I don't know if that's exactly what I want, but I think it'll get the job done. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, seeing as he has a lot of other like kind of pointy fire-like motifs going on within him, even though he's more like a spirity, watery thing. In the trailer, he like sucks the soul out of that guy, and it's like all watery as it's like trying to get away. So he is the master of fire motifs and watery spirits. Something like that. He's an elemental death man. So, just moving on, just kind of cleaning up the arm. I really like drawing arms from this angle because you get to draw this is called the carpi muscle. Like if you kind of flex your arm, you can see there's this muscle that lays over top of your elbow. And this is like one of my favorite muscles to draw. You can see it. You can kind of see it in the light there. Just that little thing. I really like to draw that muscle. It's a very cool comic book muscle that you always want to accentuate. In the comics, they always make it look unrealistically huge. But it looks cool. So that is Malthael's carpi. He's clearly been working it out. So, and let's see. So the last thing I'm going to start doing here is just kind of like moving things around, kind of adjusting things. I'm flipping it once again so I can look at it with semi-fresh eyes, kind of pick out any mistakes, See how the flow is working? I'm really, really digging this flow. Like, I love how the picture, it's almost like a bowl, right? The bowl is the composition. El Malthale is the Captain Crunch cereal in between it, and that is awesome. And you got the goat man around the outside. So I just feel like it's an overall really good composition. And I feel like I'm not getting trapped anywhere within here. Maybe, I mean, there's nothing really interesting to get stuck in this area, but I like that negative space. And I feel like everything is like pointing us back into this. Like all the main focal points are pulling us back in. To the best of my ability. I don't know. I'm sure there's mistakes. Nothing's perfect. But I like it so far. And we're going to roll with it. Rolling with it. It's best to just make a decision as opposed to just sit around and second guess yourselves and not get anywhere. So keep that in mind. All right. So, yeah, I'm actually just kind of messing around with Malthale a little bit, kind of changing his size up a little bit and getting just the edges of his scythe, making sure that it like doesn't interfere too much with our goat man getting kicked out of the frame. I love this. Like, I'm super happy with how this guy, the monk dude, his kick feels like it has a lot of energy now, and that makes me feel very happy. I might want to move his eye just slightly over because it looks a little bit kind of pushed too much to the side of his head. So for once, I drew the eyes too close together. Who would have thought of that? All right. So now that we have everything done, now that we have our clean edges, we're going to start moving into the next part, which is called masking. Masking. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this really quick. I'm going to demonstrate this real time for you. So that way you can see the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. Okay? So let's go ahead and take care of, let's get rid of all these other things and let's focus on our monk girl. Okay? So this is the way that I used to do things. Okay? Create a new layer behind my lines, right? So here's my lines and here's my new layer. Now, here's the number one thing I want you guys to never do. If I catch you doing this, I will find you and I will slap you. Okay? Because I used to do this and this is really, really bad for your wrists and it will eventually kill you, believe it or not. Okay, so you take, oh, hey, let's take the hard brush. Let's take the normal default hard brush that comes with Photoshop. And we're going to start masking, right? Oh, but we got to like push really hard. We're going to push really hard so that way it's full opacity, right? It's completely opaque. So you just got to strain your wrist the whole time. You got to zoom in really far, make the brush really small, and press really hard. Oh, no, but I got this little kind of flyaway business going on. Oh, okay, well, let's go in and press really hard again to get it away. Do not do this. If you do this, I swear, I will slap you, okay? So moving on to the second wrong way to do it. Second wrong way to do it is, okay, fine. I won't press hard. I will look into getting an ink brush, much like the brushes that I use that you can get for yourself in the comments section of YouTube. You can download my brushes for free on my DeviantArt. So I'm going to use the ink brush because now the way that the ink brush works is no matter how hard I press, it's always full, it's always straight opaque. All right? So now, okay, so we're just going to go ahead and manual mask this entire character. Oh, we got to zoom in here. Oh, looks like we missed a spot. Oh, we got to make sure we get that in there. And this will probably take the rest of the day to completely mask this character. So now I'm going to show you the right way to do it and why we went through the trouble of cleaning up the lines in the first place. Because this will save your life. It will save your life. And it will enrich it beyond your wildest dreams. So you're going to take this little special tool right over here. It's called your magic wand. And you can't see it because I'm awesome. And I am not capturing that part of the screen. Okay, so this right here, your magical wand tool. Okay? And you are going to select everything. Make sure you are sampling all your layers by clicking another menu that you can't see. Right there. Sample all layers. Make sure that's on. And you are selecting your new layer behind your lines. Select everything around the character. Then you are going to hit Shift-Control-I, and that is going to invert the selection. Implode. I like to say implode because it sounds cooler. It will implode your selection, and now all you have to do is simply go to Edit, Fill. Shift F5 is the the shortcut, right? Then it'll ask you foreground color, yes, whatever, that's whatever color is selected as your primary. Mine's a light gray. Boom, look at that. Oh, that just saves so much time, and the mask is absolutely perfect. It is absolutely perfect. There's no little mistakes, no little tiny things you got to deal with. And the way that that works, the reason why that works is because you took the time to go in there and clean up those edges. Have those crisp edges, and you'll save a lot of time. A lot of time. And then the cool thing is that you can build upon that with your clipping masks and all that good stuff, and you can change the color to whatever you want it as well. And that's something we're going to be going into in the next few tutorials. All right, so now that I showed you that real time, let me go ahead and just kick this back to the way it was. With it there. There. Okay, back to the time lapse. Back to the time lapse. So you're just going to watch me do that in time lapse state. Okay? So watch as I basically select everything around the character, invert the selection, and then I simply just fill it. And then in areas where, like, say, the goat man's leg, you know, see that? I'll actually go and I'll just kind of clean that up, manual mask that. But you want to stay away from doing it all the time. You want to stay away from manual masking your entire character because it's just, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. If you like to do it, or your line art is the type where it's not completely closed, you know, it's like some sort of comic booky stylized thing, then obviously you're going to have to do some manual masking. But if your lines are closed and you have clean silhouettes on your characters, even when they're in a painted state like this, then I would highly recommend you doing the select everything around, invert selection, and then fill it. Because it will save your life. It will save your life. And here's a good example of that. Here I am, and I'm going to mask Malthael manually. And the reason why I'm doing this is because there's a lot of like kind of wispy edges, things that are just kind of, I don't have closed edges. And I didn't want to mask his wings as well. I just wanted his body. And then I'm probably going to end up kind of clipping these wings and making them a separate thing, set them to multiply or whatever. Because by the time we get to the background where we see Malthael, it's going to be very, very painterly. It's almost going to be kind of like in the clouds, like a subliminal effect, if you will. One of the last things that I want you to notice in the painting. So, yes, so I'm manually masking him here. And I'm hating every minute of it, I'm sure, as you can tell in the time lapse. But yes, with that, that is going to finish up today's show. That's the end. That's the end. So let's go ahead and just review everything that we talked about today as I kind of scroll through here and give you a couple detail shots. A couple of things that I refined are like, say, this guy back here in the background kind of shielding his face. He's like, ugh, right? And then this guy looking away. I said this in the other dailies. You want to avoid making characters look out of the picture, especially if they're showing their eyes, because wherever the character looks, your viewer is going to naturally want to look that way. So by covering his eyes, it kind of helps to mitigate that. And he's also just kind of like a framing object. Yeah, clean up your edges. Once you're happy with your painting and everything, clean up your edges and do the selection of the outside, invert it, fill it. Shift F5 is the shortcut for fill. And Shift Control I is the one that inverts that selection. Alrighty. And then you can see right over here, I have all of my characters ready to go with their own character masks. I just call them like just the basic silhouette masks. So you take away the monk girl, there's our monk guy. Take him away, there's the goat man. And then you got that, foreground demons. See, see how it's like kind of messy behind the stuff? You don't have to worry too much about keeping the mask clean where you're not really going to be seeing anything, right? Like these guys back here, see there's just like kind of messy edges, but that's okay because the foreground demons are going to be covering that, and you don't have to worry about that. Alrighty, I know that's a lot of information to digest, and to be honest, I usually, like at most, I'm working with just a couple character masks, but in this piece, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of characters and a lot of things happening. So, and a lot of overlapping, which I think is really cool. There's a lot of depth within this piece. And I think it's really gonna show like when we're done. And that's why it's imperative that you not only create your character lines on separate layers, but also make sure that your character masks are on separate layers. Because if I put her mask and his mask together, it would be really kind of like I'd be like painting her hand, and then I'd be simultaneously like painting the guy, you know, at the same time. But that is something we're going to be getting into in the next couple episodes. So I want to thank you for joining me on YouTube, as usual. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is Keenan Lafferty. I'll see you tomorrow for another installment of From Beginning to End. And we'll be moving into color! Finally! Finally. I know you've been waiting. Thank you for being so patient. I know it's been boring. But you asked for it. You asked for the whole thing. And I delivered. This postman always delivers, as a good friend of mine would say. Alrighty, guys. So you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, take care.